The question is,
Justice,
the
radical
question,
left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
right.
Gentlemen, I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have
going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
They sure
47 years, you've done nothing. They understand.
All right.
That clip, well, it gives a pretty good idea how the first debate went down. The commission, they then decided to put in a new rule that's going into effect tonight, and it's intended to avoid the train wreck that we saw last time. Trump and Biden's microphones, they'll be muted for 2 minutes while the other candidate speaks about each issue. But then there will be about 10 minutes of open debate, so things could and likely will turn into a food fight. Now, the president's people, they're advising him not to interrupt as much as he did during the first debate, but the question is, will he listen? Can he listen? I want to bring in a man who certainly knows better than most Trump's debating tactics, Philippe Reines. He's a Democratic strategist. He also is former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State and a senior advisor to Hillary Clinton. He played the role of Trump during Hillary's debate prep in 2016. And Philippe, first of all, do you have like PTSD right now? I mean, with like a week and a half to go to the election, you guys were in pretty much the same spot. I think I saw the numbers. You guys were up 6 points at this point in 16. There's a bigger lead granted for Biden. Does it feel eerily similar, or do you think it's very different?
I think it's very different for two basic words, Jim Comey. You know, we can all be paralyzed by 2016 and allow it to just freeze our analysis. But 2016 and 2020 are different for really three different or very specific reasons. The first being that there were third-party candidates, which really created an option for people to go if they didn't like or weren't sure about the two candidates. Donald Trump at that point was sort of not a blank slate, but he was someone that people might have felt was just acting up, and he was really putting on a show, and that he would change his ways if he became president. And third, and the biggest difference between Donald Trump in 2020 and Donald Trump in 2016 is that he has a record now. And that record is abysmal. And to think that the two are the same is really just, it's I think what's called analysis by paralysis.
Like all of us, we spoke right before the first presidential debate, and then we saw the hot mess that it turned into. I think this mute button thing, and I believe you're on the same page, we're in the minority, I think it helps Trump for maybe a different reason than you. I think that it saves him from his worst impulses, and that by not being allowed to interrupt while the other person's speaking, he doesn't come across as the bore he would be if allowed to. And moreover, this 10-minute open area, it's an invitation, almost allowing him to go off and speak over people in any other tangent without even focusing on the question at hand. I'm not so sure, like a lot of people, they think that this is going to be this controlling device of Trump.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, first of all, there is no controlling Trump. He could be sitting here talking to us right now, and he could say, look, my intention going into the debate is to be a calm, reasonable, rational person who allows my opponent to speak, and I will only respond when allowed to. And he could mean it. But the minute he's on stage, he can't control himself. So I do think there's a situation exactly as you're outlining, where by virtue of telling someone that for 4 minutes of 15, that it's going to be a very structured environment with actual enforcement mechanisms for 4 of the 15 minutes, you're pretty much saying it's okay to do whatever you want in those other 11. And I'm not exactly sure how the moderator can say during those 11, Mr. President, please stop interrupting, because if you really didn't want him to interrupt, you could use a mute button there.
When the Hunter question comes up, and it's not going to come from the moderator, but you know Donald Trump is going to go there, there's clearly two different schools of thought. And I think, by the way, Biden would be benefited if the question came from the moderator, because in 2 minutes he could give a coherent answer, something along the lines of spend the first minute by saying, listen, my advisors tell me I should point out that Trump's own family, his own sister, calls him a degenerate liar, not to be trusted, and had people take tests and everything else. Talk about brother. You know, he basically tried to defraud his own nieces and nephews out of inheritance. They tell me I should mention that his children have been basically, you know, taking tax dollars to pay for them and their enterprises. But I'm not going to go there because instead I want to look for the American people. He can get the smacking and then take it in a direction. But since it's going to come from Trump, would you advise that he address it head on? I don't think he did a good job, Biden did, the first time, where he was almost looking for, you know, somebody to throw him a lifeline because he thought the question was just so crass and so unfeeling. I don't think he'll get away with that this time. He's got to have, I think, a better answer. What do you think that answer is?
Well, yeah, I mean, tonight's going to be tougher because the difference between now and 2 weeks ago on the Hunter Biden front is that there's this story that Rudy Giuliani was peddling to the point where Fox News was so dubious about its credibility that they wouldn't run it, but he finally got it in the New York Post. But Donald Trump is going to use that as a cudgel, and he's going to treat it like it's truth that came down from, you know, Mount Sinai. And there's just going to be an onslaught of that. It's not a binary choice. You don't sit there and say, I'm going to go high if they go low. You don't let them attack your child, which, again, you're not attacking a child, you're attacking you. Trump is attacking Biden. Hunter Biden is just the vehicle for it. So it's naive to think that you're just going to let it slide by. And by the way, I imagine a lot of voters don't want to see someone just let it slide by. You want to see someone, not to get into a food fight, but there is an in-between where you say, look, Hunter didn't do anything wrong. I've said this 10 times. But if you want to get into corruption among family members and offspring and, you know, the president himself, I'm happy to sit here for 90 minutes and do so. We'll probably need a few more hours because you have set a record. You and your children have done nothing but treat the presidency as a cash register. We
played a clip from a couple of years ago when Joe Biden was in Parkland after that tragic shooting that took so many of those young people's lives. And there was a genuine moment where he showed real empathy to the son who had lost his dad that day. It wasn't manufactured, it was real. And viscerally to me, the president does not have the capacity, even if they gave him the line, even if they tried to do it on a soundstage, he couldn't do that. I don't know, maybe people have already figured out themselves, but if I was Joe Biden, I'd try to figure out a way to convey that real empathy and the empathy deficit of the person on the other side of this. Can you do that on a debate stage, or does it come across as saccharine?
No, I mean, it comes across as saccharine if you're faking it. I mean, the reason that Joe Biden will come across empathetic tonight is not because he's practiced it or because he's trying to do so. It's because he is. The problem with Donald Trump is that he can show up to these debate stages and he can do what he's been doing, which is what he did in the first debate. And basically, he continued to suffer for it as if he would any day of the week, debate or not. Or he can be someone else. Now, let's just set aside for the moment that he's incapable of being someone else. Let's just, for sake of argument, say he can be someone different tonight. Who wouldn't see through that? I mean, who's going to say, oh, okay, you know, I don't mind that you mismanaged COVID or that you were impeached or that you went after your political opponent or that you caged kids or, you know, 8 or 9 other things because with 11 days to go, you desperately played, you know, Mother May I and was, abided by polite social behavior. And to your original point about empathy, Donald Trump not only doesn't possess it, but what he does possess was very, very apt for the moment 4 years ago, whether it was anger, discontent with Washington, with the system. People are not looking to be scared or maddened now. They're looking to be reassured. And boy, is he the last person in the world that makes anyone feel reassured.
The court packing, it's going to come up. I didn't understand why Biden kept this issue alive as long as he has and then put basically a date that he had to answer it by. So we've heard what he's going to do. This blue ribbon commission buys himself 6 months. Is that enough? Is that enough of an answer here for tonight, let alone before November 3rd?
You know, in my experience, when a public figure can't get an answer, quote, right, like that over a period of days or weeks, it's because they generally don't know. And, you know, this might sound like the ultimate spin, but I give Joe Biden some credit because politically speaking, he should just say, no, I have no intention of packing the court. You know, the left is going to get mad at him. So what? The left is going to vote for him no matter what he says. And moderates will say, well, good, that's one of the things I'm concerned about. And then he can do whatever he wants in 3 months. He knows he's not going to come out of the gate by just increasing the number of justices or by, you know, removing the filibuster. He's going to give, in my guess, if the Democrats were to take the Senate, he's going to give the Republicans, he's going to give Mitch McConnell all the rope he needs to hang himself. And if it doesn't work, if Mitch McConnell won't play ball, whether it's a relief bill or any of the other things that need to pass, then Joe Biden at that point can say, I'm going to have to take extreme measures.
Hey, always, I appreciate the time, the conversation. Thank you.
No, thank you, Richard.
All right, buddy, when we come back, we're going to be talking with Terry McAuliffe, the former Virginia governor and DNC chairman. He discusses whether his state's going to go for Biden, also how he thinks Trump's handled COVID, and whether or not he believes Democrats will have a really good day 12 days from now.